Good evening, everyone. My name is Rodney Hakim, and I am the host of tonight's program, New York Shakespeare Live. If you are new to the world of New York Shakespeare, what New York Shakespeare is all about is that we try to bring you as much as we can of everything that's happening in the world of Shakespeare in New York. That's in New York City and the outer boroughs and the surrounding areas, whether that is stage performances, book readings, opera, dance, film screenings, podcasts, whatever the case might be. We bring as much of that Shakespeare content that's happening in and around New York to you across social media, whether it is right here on Instagram, whether it is on Facebook, in our Facebook group, in our Facebook page, on Twitter, on LinkedIn, on WordPress, on YouTube, and elsewhere. We are all over social media, and we try to bring you as much Shakespeare as we can to try to keep you informed about all the exciting things that are happening in the world of New York Shakespeare. And there is so much of it. I'd say right now we are in mid-July. It is Monday night, July 11th. We are right at the point, I'd say, in New York City of peak Shakespeare. And what does peak Shakespeare mean? I describe peak Shakespeare as the point at which there is the most Shakespeare happening at one time, and at not just the highest level, but also at so many other levels in so many other places. You can, as the saying goes, you could throw a rock right now and hit a Shakespeare troupe that's performing Shakespeare all around town, uptown, downtown, Queens, Brooklyn, Staten Island, all over the place. And many of the guests we'll be speaking tonight are representing those different corners of New York and all the different Shakespeare that's happening. We have 4 wonderful guests tonight. We actually were scheduled to have more than 4 guests tonight. We had a couple of additional guests who were supposed to be joining us, but unfortunately had to cancel out. We also had a couple of surprise guests who were supposed to be joining us who unfortunately cannot make it, but we still have 4 fantastic guests tonight. We have from the Hip to Hip Theater, we have our friend, I'm sorry, I don't have the names list in front of me, so I will hold on to that for a moment before before I go forward. Let me pull up that information. We have 4 wonderful guests, and if you hang on for a second with me, I'll get all that information together. But again, we have 4 wonderful guests. We have the Hip to Hip Theater, we have Brooklyn One Productions, we have the Stag and Lion Theater Company, and we have the Carriage House Players. So we have a wonderful series of guests. We also have our very popular feature that has become a big hit with our guests, and that is I'll show you mine if you show me yours. So we'll see what people have to say about that. It's a very cheeky title, but it's really not, much more much more subtle than the name implies. And we'll bring you a lot of that content as the hour goes on. For all of us all the guests who are going to be joining us on the program live tonight, just a reminder up front, for those who are joining us for the interviews, you have to be on a tablet or a smartphone. You cannot be on a desktop or a laptop computer. And from your smartphone or your tablet, just be in the Instagram app, and I'll send you a go live request, and it's time for you to join us on screen for a live chat. So we'll take a moment for people to enter the space and for me to gather up my information here. My computer is very slow, unfortunately, tonight. It's just one of those nights. But we have, again, 4 fantastic guests joining us here tonight from 4 very disparate groups from different parts of New York. Before we get to those 4 guests that'll be joining us, let's take a moment to catch up on all the exciting things that are happening. And I mentioned a couple of minutes ago that we are in peak Shakespeare right now in New York. Why do I call it peak Shakespeare? Again, it's when the most Shakespeare is happening, and at the highest levels, and at all levels. In the past week, although it just closed, we had the Macbeth on Broadway with Daniel Craig and Ruth Negga. That just closed yesterday after a run of several months, a very, very successful run of several months. And we also have in the Delcourt Theater in Central Park, we have the Richard III from the Public Theater, and that is starring Danai Gurira, one of the stars of the Black Panther series for Marvel under the Avengers. as Richard III. So that's happening. We also have across town on the east side, we have at the Park Avenue Armour, we have the British star Alex Lawther with the Robert Icke production of Hamlet. And that is a very big show that came across the pond from London. That's playing on the east side of the Park Avenue Armory. We also had, a few months back, we had the film version of Macbeth, speaking of the Broadway version, with Denzel Washington and Frances McDormand. And you can actually visit one of our social media outlets, the New York Shakespeare presence on WordPress. That's New York Shakespeare, all spelled out, .wordpress.com, where you'll find an article that we recently wrote comparing and contrasting the Broadway Macbeth, which just closed, and the film version of Macbeth with Denzel Washington, which asks which witches are better. So you can check out that article and give us your feedback. Let us know what you think. In addition to that, right now, all around town, there's just a ton of Shakespeare happening. There's all kind of Shakespeare groups that are performing outdoors. This is the height of outdoor Shakespeare season. Our friends at New York Classical Theatre just closed their production of... They were doing Cymbeline, that just closed. We have our other friends, we have many of our friends doing shows around town. We have in the Lower East Side, we have the Drilling Company, we have our friends, Classics on the Rocks, doing their thing. We have all around town, and four of our guests here tonight are all doing outdoor Shakespeare, well, all but one. 3 out of 4 are doing outdoor Shakespeare. The fourth is an indoor space. So we'll be talking to them and the difference with that, and why we might be doing the one as opposed to the other. We'll talk about performance in the age of the coronavirus, and there's some concern about coronavirus numbers sneaking up again. Even though they were largely down, there is some worry that things are going to go back to higher numbers. So there are precautions that are coming up, and there is some chatter and some requests amongst the industry and amongst the audience and theater goers that people should go back to mask mandates. Just as of 10 days ago, on July 1st, in Broadway houses, in Broadway theaters, it became optional. The mask mandate no longer is a mandate, it is now a suggestion. So masks are optional in Broadway theaters, and I think that has proliferated down to some of the smaller spaces, the off-Broadway and off-Broadway spaces and beyond. So we'll ask some of our guests tonight what their thoughts are about masking, especially if you are in an indoor space. So going back to our list of guests, now that I have it in front of me and I won't make any mistakes, we have from the Hip to Hip Theater Company, we have Jason Marr, the artistic director of that group, and they have a couple of shows coming up, and they're all around Queens and beyond. We have from Brooklyn One Productions, we have their producing artistic director, and that is Anthony Marino. We'll be talking to Anthony about their production of Romeo and Juliet, which is playing in the Industry Park section of, or Industry City section of Brooklyn, I believe. We will speak to Chelsea Lesage, who is the performer playing Beatrice in Much Ado About Nothing, and she is with the Stag and Lion Theater Company with our friend Joshua Cohn, who we spoke to a couple of months ago, and they are doing that indoors in an intimate space on the west side, as well as Evan Donnellan from the Carriage House Players based on Long Island, and they have a long-running outdoor summer Shakespeare series at the historic Vanderbilt Mansion and Planetarium out there in Suffolk County. So we have, let's see, one of our audience members down there. You can, in the bottom of the Instagram Live, you can include your comments, your questions, your reactions, and one of our audience members says the 12th night at Marcus Garvey Park is amazing, presented by Classical Harlem. Cruz Cordero, I could not agree with you more, and that's actually something that I was going to surprise everyone with. We were going to have one of the members of that presentation, and I'll throw up that image, and that is from the Classical Theater of Harlem. That's exactly right, Cruz. They are doing 12th Night up at Marcus Garvey Park in Harlem on 125th Street and Madison Avenue, and it is just a fantastic production of 12th Night. I could not recommend it to you more highly. Last year, or actually 6 months ago in January, in our annual New York Shakespeare Awards, our award winners for 2021 for the best drama was the Classical Theatre of Harlem for last year's production of Seize the King, which was their take on Richard III. produced by Ty Jones and directed by Carl Cofield, both pictured in this image that I just threw up. And those two gentlemen are at the helm again for this production of Twelfth Night, which is just a fantastic, fantastic production, and I highly encourage you to see it. It's a totally free production, but of course donations are requested or suggested, but definitely I urge you to check that out, and you can visit their website, Classical Theatre of Harlem. So yes, absolutely, they are a fantastic, fantastic show, and I'd say one of the top shows in town. Okay, so that all being said, before we jump into our interviews, if we have any questions or any comments from the audience, anyone wants to jump in or throw some comments out there, or even as we're going along, if you have questions, I'll be checking the bottom of the page. I'll be checking the comments and the questions. You can throw your reactions, throw your emoji, throw whatever you want at us, or if you have specific questions for any of our guests, feel free to include those for us as well. Okay, we will throw over to our first guest of the evening, and that is going to be our friend Jason Marr, the artistic director of the Hip to Hip Theatre Company. And let me send an invite out to Jason and see if he can join us for a chat. We'll learn about the Hip, who have been doing Shakespeare outdoors in Queens and in various places for quite a number of years. And I've heard, Jason.
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
Certainly, it's a pleasure to chat with you, and thank you for joining us tonight.
My pleasure.
So, Jason, you guys have you've been with the Hip to. Were you one of the ones who first initiated the Hip to Hip Theatre Company?
That's right. Yes, my wife and I started Hip to Hip Theatre Company 15 years ago. So this is our 15th season, and our mission is to take professional productions of Shakespeare to underserved communities. We started in Queens, that's where we're based, and in about year 7 or 8, we started to expand, and now we cover all of the boroughs. This year, actually, we will not be in all boroughs. The pandemic really caused us to contract a bit. We got back to live performance last year, and this year we're taking another step to getting back to all of our venues, but we're not quite back. We're not going to be we won't be in Manhattan this year, but arguably Manhattan is definitely not an underserved borough, so I'm not crying about that. But we will be playing 12 different parts, two full productions. This year we're doing Much Ado About Nothing and Pericles, which is just a very interesting play. My first time really digging into it. So we're having a lot of fun already. We're about halfway through our rehearsal process. We open July 27th out in Flushing Meadows, Corona Park.
Okay, and I think that's your home base, right? Flushing Meadows, Corona Park. Is that your main spot where you do most of your work?
No, we're based in Woodside. But Flushing is definitely one of the flagship venues. Included in that list is Gantry Plaza State Park, Socrates Sculpture Park in Long Island City, which are both really beautiful parks right on the East River. Flushing Meadows is where we're.
If some of our viewers who are, don't go to Queens that often, don't have a frame of reference for where Flushing Meadows Corona Park is, if you know the Unisphere, if you know the big towers that were from the World's Fair in 1961, I believe it was, that's where Flushing Meadows Corona Park is. It's right there. It's right by Citi Field, where the Mets have their baseball field. So you're right outside of there. And
the Unisphere is we perform right next to the Unisphere, so that is our backdrop. Which is a pretty beautiful backdrop. Pretty iconic
New York spot to be.
Yes. Absolutely.
Okay. So Jason, you and your wife started this 15 years ago, and even at that time, now of course there are way more Shakespeare groups than when I was active in the scene, maybe 15 or 20 years ago, and at the time there were a number of troupes that were around, but it's just exploded exponentially since then. So at that time, what prompted what gave you the impetus that said, you know what, we need to get out there and do something for Queens?
We both have a passion for Shakespeare. In fact, we met doing a production of Twelfth Night out in Ohio. So we both love Shakespeare and loved working on the plays. And I guess ultimately we decided to start a family. We decided to have children and really base ourselves in the city. We stopped taking out-of-town jobs and really focusing on the city. So it was sort of a natural progression to say, well, we are going to be here. We're committed to not only to the city, but committed to our neighborhood here in Queens. Mm-hmm. And with our passion for Shakespeare. And we helped start the Ohio Shakespeare Festival. We were founding company members there. So we had some experience with producing and being on that side of things. And ultimately, we thought we have a lot of ideas, and we decided to give it a shot. We started just by doing a single play and basically in our neighborhood, two venues, mm-hmm. and then it continued to expand from there.
Okay. And were you at some point, or are you still an educator, Jason?
Yes, yeah. I teach acting at Marymount Manhattan College, okay. And that has actually become a really vibrant relationship in way of pulling young talent into our company. Over the past, I would say 8 years, we developed an apprenticeship program for young actors to get involved, to not only play featured roles in the productions, but then help on the technical side. Because as you can imagine, we are committed to not just bringing a play to the park, but we bring a full theater experience. So we bring a set, we bring lights, audio, we have wireless microphones. So really sumptuous costumes. Our resident costume designer, Nancy Nichols, has been with us from the beginning. And we were actually just earlier today just talking about the amount of energy that she has for costuming over 60 characters every season for us.
Wow.
Which is, it's a real feat.
That's no small undertaking.
Yeah. And we're a relatively small operation, so it really is artist driven. And I guess we were inspired by the American Shakespeare Center in Virginia. We have some friends who were in that company, and they talked about just that it's very artist driven. The actors are helping pull their own costumes. They're helping with the quick changes in the back. It's very actor driven. Mm-hmm. So that was part of our philosophy from the beginning, being actors ourselves, that we wanted it to be sort of an actor driven company. So that led to creating this apprenticeship program that we can pull from not just Marymount, but other institutions where we have theater artists who are graduating and looking or hungry for work, mm-hmm. And we put them to work in many ways. So not only are they going to be in the shows and featured in the shows, but they help me with, I show up at the performance with a 20-foot box truck, all the sets, lights, costumes, everything's in there. It all comes out. We put it up. We do the show, and it all goes back in the truck at the end of the night, and we go to another park the next night.
Wow. Really that ethos of the traveling theater troupe, literally, literally traveling from place to place. And with your work at Marymount Manhattan College, I think you have a lot of colleagues that I know. One of our good friends on this program is Owen Thompson. And I think he's has
acted and directed for us in years,
And I think he teaches there also.
I think he does, yeah.
Okay, all right. And one of our guests in the program tonight, Chelsea Lesage, who is performing another version of Much Ado with the Stag and Lion Theater, she says that Jason was my professor.
Yes, that's right. Yes, and I think it's fantastic. I saw that she is playing Beatrice in Much Ado, and we're doing Much Ado also this summer. So yeah, it's a small world, and in a great way. especially to have the connection with a love of Shakespeare. And I know Chelsea has committed many years to working on Shakespeare plays. And I've tried to get her. I've tried to get her for Hip to Hip, but I think the times I've reached out, she's been too busy.
Well, that's what happens in New York City. You have so many different companies that are grabbing at some talented actors, and as many actors as there are, I think there are more Shakespeare companies per capita in New York than anywhere else I can think of. There's I don't know if you're familiar. One of the groups around town, I won't mention their name, but one of the groups around town, their tagline, it's a humorous tagline that they call themselves the 467th best Shakespeare group in New York City. There are so many of them out there. I love it. Yeah. But and that being the case, you mentioned that you guys were contracting during the COVID era, where you weren't out in all 5 boroughs. You had to kind of take a break, take a breather, recollect, and rethink your strategy. So how do you go from that contraction and maybe doing stuff on Zoom or whatever you might have been doing during the COVID break a couple of years ago? How do you get back out and start to reassess and get back out there into all the places we are now?
I think we are doing it. We did the 2020 season was canceled, and we did a Zoom Troilus and Cressida, which was a lot of fun. And then last year we worked hard to get, because we work under the Showcase Code, as I'm sure a lot of the 400 and so companies that are doing Shakespeare work under. And as you know, probably that code was suspended during the pandemic. So last year we had in order to go back to live performance, we had to go to a special appearance contract, and fortunately because of the canceled season, we had enough money to do that. This year they've reinstated the Showcase Code, so we're back on the Showcase Code. And so I think the real saving grace for us was that we're all out of doors. We used to do some, like on a day where the weather is bad, we would move indoors for rehearsal. But for performance, if it rains, we would have to either hold or cancel the show. So that part of it has basically remained the same, and was a real plus for us in order to get the union to give us the green light last year, is that we're completely out of doors. And even this year we've been contemplating, over the years we have usually conducted our technical rehearsals out in the parks, but as you can imagine, if it happens to be bad weather for the weekend that we're teching, it can really cause problems. So pre-pandemic, we had started to move indoors for those tech rehearsals, which is hard. I mean, to find a space that can accommodate our set and all of everything else that we set up for the performances. So anyway, we've nixed that since the pandemic. So we're just sort of crossing our fingers to make sure we have good weather for our tech. And I guess the other big challenge from the pandemic is really sort of wooing financial backers back to the game. Understandably, most people were putting their charitable contributions to more pressing needs in the pandemic, health care and food and shelter for people who are really struggling or losing housing. And so the challenge last year and this year has been to remind people that what we do in the arts is also very important for the health of the city. Not necessarily the physical health, but certainly the mental health.
Mental, spiritual, creative health.
Yeah, absolutely. And for the livelihood of the artists.
Right.
So that became our rallying cry last year, is that we had a lot of money left from the canceled season, and so our goal was just to make sure we were getting that money to the artists so that we can keep the city going and keep the art going.
Have you had to make any adjustments to how the audience is either seated, or the proximity to the actors, or any kind of masking restrictions?
We haven't. We didn't. We did not require masks last year. Again, we're out of doors, so
Right.
we were encouraging people to because the seating is first come first serve.
Hmm.
So whoever's there, you can set up a blanket or a low chair, and people were being respectful of others and giving space.
Hmm.
I guess the biggest loss we had is pre-pandemic. We for many years we had developed a pre-show children's workshop that we called Kids in the Classics, and it was offered 30 minutes before the performance,
Hmm.
and it was conducted by theater artists and a couple of the actors from the shows. We'd come out and we'd get the kids to come up on the stage and lead them through theater games and exercises, give them an introduction to the story, so that they would be able to sit and enjoy the show, so that their parents could enjoy the show.
Right.
But it was wonderful, and I think it led to a nice increase in our audience because we just had more families coming,
Sure.
and that was eliminated at the based on the protocols of Actors Equity, because we can't have that kind of interaction with the audience.
Right.
So that was really the only thing that we had to curtail in way of audience involvement. We believe in Shakespeare original practices, direct address to the audience,
Hmm.
a real vibrant relationship with the audience, and that hasn't changed, even though we can't be interacting with them
More directly.
Yeah.
Right. All right. Well, listen, I've heard nothing but good things about Hip to Hip for
Thank
quite a
you.
long time now. So I hope I can come and check you guys out. And
Please do.
I urge our audience to do so too. Jason, where can people go to find out about where your shows are going to be and how they can get information and tickets?
Oh, sure. You can go to our website, hiptohip.org. You can check us out on Instagram and on Facebook. Our page there has the full calendar of performances. Again, we're at 12 different parks all over the city, and two, I think, really exciting productions that are in the works.
Much Ado and Pericles.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Fantastic. And that's from July 27th until August 10th, right?
21st.
21st. Okay.
Yep. So it's 4 weeks, and it's classic rotating repertory. So one night we'll do Much Ado, the next night Pericles, the next night Much Ado, and so it's a lot of fun for the acting company to get to switch back and forth like that.
Wonderful. Well, I wish you the best of luck, and I can't wait to check it
you.
out.
Thank you
Thank
so
you very
much.
much, Jason Marr from the Hip to Hip Theater Company. Have a great night.
Thank you. You too. I look forward to hearing the rest of your interviews.
Absolutely. Stick around.
Will do.
All right. So that was Jason Marr of the Hip to Hip Theater Company, primarily based in Queens, but they are all over the place, all around the boroughs, and you can check them out at hiptohip.org. Let us go to our next guest, and that is going to be Anthony Marino of the Brooklyn One Productions. But before we visit him, I will ask us to take a moment, and let me see if I have that image handy. If not, I'll just throw up the general image from tonight's discussion series, and that is, it's down in the lower right corner. I'll show you mine if you show me yours. So what is I'll show you mine if you show me yours? It is just me geeking out about Shakespeare and showing you some of my favorite tchotchkes, books, DVDs, paraphernalia, various Shakespeare stuff that I happen to have in my collection. And you are welcome to show me yours, whether it is one of our guests or whether it's audience members. You can throw a picture in the chat, you can mention it in the chat, or if any of our guests want to show them, I'm happy to see. I always start off the I'll show you mine if you show me yours, given its cheeky title, by saying that I'm going to show you my Willie. And that's this little guy right here. So that's my Willie. He made an appearance tonight. We all cheer and shout, you saw my Willie, okay? And I'll show you another favorite of mine, and this is from one of our perennial favorites, And this is from someone who we'll be chatting with in a couple of weeks. And that is the book from Christopher Carter Sanderson of Guerrilla Repertory Theatre. They are one of the originators and pioneers of outdoor Shakespeare in New York City. They've been at it for 25 to 30 years. And they were a staple at Washington Square Park downtown in the Village. And they also did a number of shows at Fort Tryon Park uptown. And so they're one of the legendary troupes in New York. And we have a bunch of interviews and content with them. You can look back at all the archives, all of our discussions, our past classes, various things that we did, many of them including Guerrilla Rep and Christopher Carter Sanderson. This is a book that Christopher Carter Sanderson taught, or he wrote and he taught at the college level at Yale and beyond. And this is called Guerrilla Theater. And it's him codifying and explaining his technique and his thoughts about presenting guerrilla theater outdoors. It's a fascinating read and a great insight into the mind of one of the pioneers, one of the real innovators in the world of New York theater. We'll be speaking to Christopher Carter Sanderson and his troupe Guerrilla Rep. They right now have stepped momentarily away from outdoor Shakespeare, and they have moved into film versions of Shakespeare, but not traditional film versions of Shakespeare. They've moved into versions of Shakespeare shot entirely on their actors' iPhones and stitched together with an editing process that creates a very different looking kind of theatrical / film presentation. Their production a couple of years ago was Macbeth. Right now, they just produced a version of Hamlet on film, and we'll be having a Zoom discussion with them in just a couple of weeks. And you can check back here on the New York Shakespeare social media to find that discussion. So this is Guerrilla Theater from Christopher Carter Sanderson from Guerrilla Rep. That's guerrillarep.net, I believe, but I'll put the link for that later in the comment section. Now, let us show you another book from one of our favorites and one of our regulars also here on the program. That is from another educator named Erica Kentley. Erica Kentley is a good friend of the New York Shakespeare program, and she wrote this book a couple of years ago called Teaching Hamlet as My Father Died. For those who might not be aware of this book, it's a really, really great autobiographical, say that 3 times fast, book that shows the process of how Erica, as a high school teacher, grappled with teaching Shakespeare to her high school students as she was in the process of watching her father in his final days, and the echoes and the reverberations that her father's imminent demise had with her teaching of Hamlet produces just a fantastic book. I encourage you to check that out. Once again, that is Teaching Hamlet as My Father Died from Erica Kentley. Okay, so that is, I'll show you mine. If you show me yours, we will jump into our next interview, and that was with, let me pull up this image. That is with Anthony Marino of Brooklyn One Productions. They are doing Romeo and Juliet. Let me send an invite out to Anthony. They are in the Industry City section of Brooklyn, and they have been running for quite a... Anthony.
Whoa, hey, how are you?
How you doing there, my friend?
Good.
All right. So, Anthony, I was just about to do your talk up. You have been running for, I think, about maybe 8-9 years, the Brooklyn Shakespeare Festival over in Brooklyn, right?
Yes, so we started that in 2013. Yeah, so we're almost at our 10th year. It's crazy. It flew by.
I can't believe so much time. I've heard over the years of the Brooklyn Shakespeare Festival, but I kind of heard of it for a bit, and then I didn't hear of it for a bit. Has it been going consistently since 2013, or has it been on and off?
It has been consistent until the pandemic. We lost 2019 and 2020. 2020, 2021, and then we're back now 22. It's been, but we service the sort of Southwest Brooklyn. So if a landmark would be like the Verrazano Bridge, so the coastal waterfront of Brooklyn down southwest, and so I think it's it was a little smaller, I think, demographic in the beginning, but we're certainly reaching out further now than we have before. Yeah.
So similar to the discussion we were having with Jason Marr of Hip to Hip a few moments ago, it takes a lot of guts and a lot of fortitude to take the idea of, hey, you know what? Let's do Shakespeare. Let's start a Shakespeare company. And not just to make a Shakespeare company, but to make a whole festival that goes with that. So what was the driving force for you? As do you have a strong background in Shakespeare? What brought you to the idea of doing this whole thing and pushing and expanding it for the course of the last several years?
Sure. So Brooklyn One, we didn't start off as a Shakespeare company,
Mm-hmm.
and it was something that certainly I have a background in. I went to Wagner College for theater. I got my degree there. I did plenty of Shakespeare. I've done plenty of Shakespeare, Romeo and Juliet, Julius Caesar, all that stuff. And we were given an opportunity to use a space in a park called Owl's Head Park in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn. There was an overlook that had just been renovated, and some of the local politicians and community leaders wanted to do something outdoor for the summer. And with about 3 weeks' notice, I was asked to produce some sort of Shakespeare event for that space. And so our first year, we threw together a sort of just a greatest hits of Shakespeare scenes. We just did scenes.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have time to do a full show. So
Right.
we put together about 10 scenes, and we produced the show up there in Owl's Head Park over
Mm-hmm.
on 68th Street and Colonial Road over in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn. And that was kind of it. We got the bug from there. We realized that there was no outdoor Shakespeare in that area of Brooklyn. And while people, of course, love to go to Manhattan to see, Shakespeare there at the Delacorte, we said, well, let's make it accessible here. And we did it very bare bones.
Mm-hmm.
No sound, no lighting, no microphones, minimal costumes. We really focused on the language, and we focused on making cuts to the show so that it was accessible for people to come and sit with a blanket, with a chair for about an hour, hour and a half. We didn't want to do full productions. We wanted to cut it down,
Right.
get a really tight outdoor show.
Mm-hmm.
And we would do one day in the park, and we would do 3 or 4 shows depending throughout the day.
Okay.
That would be our festival for the day. And sometimes we would have a band play or different performers in between the shows. But we did it there in the park for almost 9 years. In 2019, was the last show we did there in the park. Yep.
Okay. So then after that, have you moved to a new location since then?
So we were going to go back to the park. There were some issues, and again, COVID just kind of turned everything upside down. And there were
so many people.
Yeah, and there were some issues getting the permits
Right.
to use the park.
Mm-hmm.
And so at that point, I had started building a relationship with Industry City, which is a huge retail cultural complex in Sunset Park, Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
And we were doing some podcasts and producing some stuff there for them, and they just sort of mentioned, they're like, we'd love to do some Shakespeare. They have a nice theater, an outdoor theater there in the space that they usually have bands play on and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I would love to get back to doing our Shakespeare. We haven't really done, we've done some Zoom stuff. We hadn't done a lot of live performance, and it was sort of a natural fit. So we worked with them to put, and they gave us the opportunity to use their space, which is a beautiful outdoor amphitheater, not amphitheater, or a band shell rather. It's a
Mm-hmm.
beautiful band shell.
Right.
It's got lighting, it's got sound, it has everything that we never had in the park. It's right near the 36th Street and 4th Avenue train station. I mean, It's really accessible, and it's almost like it's growing pains, but it's wonderful growing pains to be able to do it there in that location.
Isn't it fantastic when you're kind of, you had that setback and you're not sure what the next step is going to be, and suddenly something presents itself to you that in some way it's a bigger and better opportunity for you than what was existing before.
I mean, we're able to hit much larger breadth of audience in different neighborhoods where now it's not just Bay Ridge, but it's Bay Ridge, it's Dyker Heights, it's Bensonhurst, it's Sunset Park, it's Park Slope, it's all these that converges into one area on one location. It's so great, and I loved being at the park. I mean, there's a part of me that does miss being, outdoor Shakespeare is Shakespeare in the park that's a New York City tradition,
Right.
But there's something to be said about having a stage and just just ever so slightly some amenities, some lighting, some sound, so that we could really put on a much bigger show. It's a lot of fun.
Cruz Cordero was asking, what's the name of the park again?
It's called Owl's Head Park in Bay Ridge.
Okay, and that's where you guys were from your first formative years from 2013 to 19. Now you guys have moved over to Industry City, which is a bigger space. You have the band shell. You have some production. You have lights, sound.
Yeah, and there's places to get food and you can sit and have food, and you can drink, and you can have like a beer, a nice glass of wine. You can sit and enjoy all of that while you're watching the show.
That's very conducive to watching a show, and that's kind of like Shakespeare's day, where you had your beer, and you had your ale, and you had your whatever food was being passed around.
Yeah,
so that's wonderful. And you guys, I'm sure now that you have that bigger setup, you have more room to have a more full size, substantial production. And is that the case with what you have right now with Romeo and Juliet?
Yeah, we kind of, so the aesthetic for Brooklyn One is always kind of minimal. And so while we do have certainly a bigger opportunity to have maybe a larger set or things like that, we always kind of keep it pretty scaled small. We're working pretty much without a budget for the Shakespeare stuff. So we're working out of the kindness of the venue, the kindness of the actors who are just fantastic, and they come and they bring their costumes and stuff, and it's a real collaborative process. And for us, what's important is that the language is at the forefront, the acting is at the forefront, and if we can get maybe one or two little set pieces, that's totally fine. But for the most part, we really want to make sure that the audience is there and are really understanding the show, and they can leave with a real sense of wow, that was a really cool production of Shakespeare, and I really understood it. And it was minimal enough where it was the actors really shined. That's what we really like to do. Now,
do you have a fairly small cast, if I gather correctly? Instead of maybe 12 or 15, you have maybe 6 or 7, right?
No, we have. I think we're actually at 15, maybe 14 or 15. We did.
Okay.
Yeah, Romeo and Juliet this is not our first time. This is not my first time doing Romeo and Juliet, so I'm pretty good at slicing it down. And myself and my co-director Stephanie Satilli, we got it down to 15 actors, and it's a pretty streamlined version. We've done Measure for Measure. I did that with 8 actors playing all the roles. I have a great cut of that show that I want to revive. In maybe even next year in this new space, where we do some more stuff where everybody plays every part. It's a lot of fun. I mean, Shakespeare's a lot of fun like that. You can do so much original kind of concepts.
Yeah. There's so much room for mixing and matching and adding ideas and putting different concepts on there.
Yeah.
So you guys have a very robust social media. You guys have a really, really nice graphics and different kind of things that you're putting out there. Do you have a social media team that's working on that, or is that all you?
You're looking at the social media team.
The social media team. All right.
I'm the social media team. Yeah. Thank you. I can't express to you. Thank you so much for noticing that. Yeah. It's it's all my aesthetic. I try to, again, it's all that accessibility. I don't want people to be afraid of Shakespeare. It's one of the reasons why the first Shakespeare that we decided to do was Romeo and Juliet. We figured let's kick off live performances with one that everybody knows,
right?
And let's come and have a good time. You know how it ends. It's okay. Let's just have some fun. And so the social media, I'm trying to make it as fun and as energetic as the actual production is.
Well, you I don't know if people know, but outside of the role of Shakespeare, you are a realtor. You're in real estate.
I guess I'm a broker with Douglas Elliman Real Estate. Yeah.
so you have some of that professional salesmanship to you. So
I'm not sure what came first. The acting thing, the real estate. It all just
it all goes together.
Yeah.
Well, you're doing a great job. If I didn't know, I think you'd have a whole number of people that are working to put those social media posts together, because it looks like you're everywhere, and you guys are putting up fantastic images and very evocative things that it's saturated colors and all kinds of different things. So you're doing great work.
Thank you.
And I encourage the audience to come check out your show. Where can they go to find out more information?
So you can go to our Instagram. Since you're on Instagram now, you can go to BK1_productions. You can check out our link tree, and that'll bring you all the links there. And of course, our main site is www.bk1, that's bkone.org. And it's a suggested donation. So if you want to spend $1 and come see the show, fantastic. If you want to spend more, We appreciate you. Thank you. Come out and see us.
Right. And you have one of our audience members, Jenny Cohen Sanchez, says, I'm an actor and a real estate agent too. So you're connecting with like-minded people out in the audience.
Yes. Awesome.
All right. Well, Anthony, it was a pleasure chatting with you. Best of luck with the production. And I hope that if I can check it out, I'd love to. If not, I definitely recommend that the audience come out and see what you guys are up to over there in Brooklyn.
Yeah, please come down. We're July 20th, 27th, and then August 9th and August 17th, all at around 6 p.m. So come on down. Thank you.
Okay, excellent. Anthony, it was a pleasure chatting with you.
Yeah, thanks so much. Take care.
Have a good night.
Bye.
Okay, so that was Anthony Marino of BK1, Brooklyn One Productions. Industry City Rocks, says Nicole Anel. Come see us. Oh, I guess you have one of your actors in R&J. Nicole Anel says Industry City Rocks. And it sounds like it's a fantastic place to go. I urge you to check it out. BK1 Productions, Brooklyn One Productions, Anthony Marino. Go and see what they're up to with their production of Romeo and Juliet. Okay, we are down to the latest section of our interviews. Let's see. It looks like we are missing one of our people. So we will turn over to, let me send out a image over here. We'll put up an image for our friend Chelsea Lesage, and she is from the production of Much Ado About Nothing that we spoke about before with Jason Marr, her one-time professor, and that is being done with the Stag and Lion Theatre Company with Joshua Cohen over at the Trinity Theatre on the West Side I believe they have a very intimate indoor aesthetic, and we'll ask Chelsea about that. So let me send an invite out to Chelsea and see if she can join us here for a chat and tell us more about that production.
Hi.
Hello, Chelsea.
How are you?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Thanks for having me.
All right. So, Chelsea, you and I just got connected together just not too long ago, and but previously we had a chat with Joshua Cohen of Stag and Lion, and he told us all about the wonderful things that they're doing over at the Trinity Church. Is this your first time working with this group?
No. So Stag and Lion has been around since 2012. I joined the group in 2013. I'm now the main director here, and I'm playing Much Ado About Nothing. We started off the West Side Garden on Columbus, and then we moved here about 4 or 5 years ago. So, but actually, so we're doing. I'm in the theater right now. Here it is. It's creepy here at night alone. The church's been around upstairs. We're in the basement of a church. It's been around since like 1890 or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah. So we're gonna have performances here, but before that, we are also doing outdoor with Much Ado in our West Side. The 6 p.m. and then we have one on Sunday, the 7th, 6 p.m. and then the following Saturday and Sunday, the 23rd and 24th at 6 p.m. at the West Side Community Garden, and then we move in here.
Oh, so it's the same show, but you have an outdoor leg of the run, and then you have an indoor leg of the run.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
It's
gonna be interesting.
Well, that's interesting. It's a very, for the people in the audience who might not have the experience, it's a very different thing to do outdoor Shakespeare where there's no walls for your voice to bounce back from, as opposed to doing indoor Shakespeare, especially in an intimate space where you don't have to work that muscle to project your voice quite in the same way. So
it's definitely been interesting because we've been rehearsing primarily in the theater. So trying to set our minds and work our diaphragms for that outdoor space because we are not mic'd there. It's been an adventure. But we always make it work. We have like a little tent that we change in the outdoor space. But would be, I don't know, probably my 4th time in the garden, but I've been with the company for 9.
okay.
Yeah, we're all up in the audience's faces. In the West Side Community Garden, we don't bring our whole set that we use here at the theater to the garden, and we kind of use the audience as the set.
Okay.
Yeah, in both spaces, we're up in their faces, kind of bringing that old school Shakespeare vibe back. Kind of, we're right there. We want the audience to be a part of it.
Okay, and that again, we were talking to Anthony Marino from Brooklyn Productions about his approach, and it's a similar aesthetic where you're there's that direct address, and you're getting involved with the audience. You're getting them to be part of the production in many ways. So tell me about that. It's again, you're performing. You're on both sides of the stage. Apparently, you're doing some assistant directing. Is that what you mentioned before?
Oh, I'm the managing director here now. We have a
Managing director.
For the did best for a while, and yeah, no, I mean, we work like a repertory theater, but we're not officially like that. But it's the same general group of actors that we have, and we, no matter, depending upon the actors that we have, we kind of pick the show. We try and put a show up like every month or every 6 weeks. Yeah, and we have a really reliable like group of people who come to see the shows. We're trying to get the word out there even more.
I think a couple of months ago, it was one of the Henry plays that you guys were working on at that time.
We just did Henry IV Part 1 and 2 in Rep. It was Lady Percy in that, and that was so much fun. So much.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So what's the process like going from that, where you're going on a short interval between one show and the other? Is it that you end the Henry IV plays and then you take a week off and then you're right into rehearsal for Much Ado?
I'm not sure if we got a week off this go around.
You don't have that luxury, right?
There are some times where we have the weekend, maybe I don't think it's been more than a week, but it's so much our home that it feels weird to be away for that amount of time.
Okay. All right. And how big of a troupe are you guys?
I'd say, well, I think there's 16 or 17 of us in this show, but the Henrys, I think we had around 35 people. It depends, but there's a core group of about 12 of us.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So tell me about working with Joshua. It seems like Joshua is he seems like the kind of director that has a very specific idea of what he wants to see on stage. Is that your experience with him?
Yes. It's just the rehearsal process with him directing is just such a joy. It's all fun. Our masks are out to the audience all the time. We're very big and loud. And yeah, he knows what he wants. He gets the right people, and the shows, they.
So one of the things that Joshua was mentioning to me about his aesthetic in our previous discussion was that it's a kind of like a small, dimly lit space, almost akin to something in one of those old Elizabethan style theaters, where you have it's almost like lit by candlelight or by a small chandelier or something like that. So it's a very intimate, dim setting, and then you go from that to being outdoors and having no clear boundaries. So tell us about the switch between one and the other.
Yeah, so of course the switch, I think we're having one run through in the garden before we open on Saturday. So that'll definitely be like a shock to the actors, I think, who haven't been in the space before in the garden. But yeah, our indoor space, I mean, we're in the basement of an old church. So our seats are pews. It's pretty ominous, but beautiful. The stage is wooden. We built it ourselves, and we're generally lit by footlights. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Be a shock to go out. I remember we were doing Macbeth in 2017, and when you're out and doing outdoor Shakespeare, during the Tomorrow speech, actually, where Josh was playing, we were playing the Macbeths, and a woman, just because it's free outdoor Shakespeare in this garden, she came and sat down in the throne. And just so Josh was just leaning up against the throne, being like, I guess I'm going to do this from here. Yeah, so just always, make the audience a part of it, and whatever happens, we fly by the seat of our pants.
Okay. All right. So tell me about Beatrice. Tell me about Much Ado. What's your work on Beatrice been like thus far?
Well, I've been bugging Josh to do this play for about a decade. So I'm really happy that it's happening now. It's been great because he and I have played off of each other for so long. We're just so comfortable, really destroying each other with our wit.
Mm-hmm.
She's a very relatable woman. And,
so this is a parallel to the relationship that you and Josh have, Beatrice and Benedict.
Yeah, I was like, this is the least we're going to have to act. Because no, it's all just been so fun. It's been so fun. I don't know, I understand her. And the cast, everyone around us is just brilliant, really.
Okay, one of our audience members, Cruz Cordero, says it's great to see churches embrace plays and thespians when in antiquity they condemned them. That's a good point. That's a
Yeah.
good point. All right. Okay. So if people want to come check out the production, Chelsea, remind us of what are the dates and that they can come check it out.
Yes, so at the Westside Community Garden on 89th, you can see us the 16th and 17th of this month, and the 23rd and 24th at 6 p.m. It's free, it's donated based. And then we move in here on Thursday, the 28th, and run through the 6th of August with 7 p.m. performances and one matinee on the 31st at 3 p.m. And you can find out all of this stuff. We're on Instagram at Stag and Lion Trinity Theatre, and then stagandliontheater.com. And you can purchase tickets for $25 for inside.
Okay. All right. Well, Chelsea, it's a pleasure to get to chat with you, and I wish you and Joshua the best of luck with the show. I hope to come out and check it out, and I hope our audience comes out as well.
Yes, please. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you very much. Okay, so that was Chelsea Lesage from the Stag and Lion Theatre Company with Joshua Cohn, and they are doing Much Ado About Nothing, which apparently Beatrice and Benedict are in some way related to Josh and Chelsea in terms of their relationships. So I definitely urge you to check that out. Okay, we are supposed to have our final group of the evening, and that is our friend Evan Donnellan from the Carriage House Players. Unfortunately, I don't see Evan in my list of people whom I can request to go live with. So I don't know if Evan might be having some kind of technical glitch with his Instagram, or if perhaps, like a couple of other guests who were supposed to join us tonight who had to pull out, maybe he's knee-deep in a rehearsal, because I think they're doing, I don't know how many shows over the course of the summer. I'll throw up the image for them anyway. I'll actually throw up a couple of images. This one is for Evan Donnellan at the Carriage House Players. They are at the historic Vanderbilt Museum and Planetarium out in Suffolk County on Long Island. They are currently doing Troilus and Cressida. I think prior to this, they were doing one of the comedies. I think it might have been As You Like It, and I think after this they have something in July right now, Troilus and Cressida. I think next month. I don't remember what's next. I think one of them might be The Tempest, perhaps. They have just every month it's something different. So it was May, June, July, August, September. I think they run through September. Maybe they do October too. I don't know. But they're out there for several months doing shows regularly at the Vanderbilt, and it's a beautiful. If you can see in the bottom left corner, you can see just that little image of Evan sitting in front of the playing space, and that is in the rear of the actual place where the Vanderbilts had their home once upon a time. A little section of the Vanderbilt Museum that was, at one point, it was the home for the Vanderbilts. So it's just a beautiful, beautiful space, beautiful park and garden and museum and planetarium that's all out there. It's definitely worth a trip out to Long Island to go check out that space. I performed in that space many times with the company that was there before Evan turned it into the Carriage House Players. So I have quite a history with that space and with that outfit. And it would be great to catch up with Evan about that. Again, unfortunately, it looks like Evan, for whatever reason, is not able to join us. So my apologies to Evan if we are not able to conduct the interview with him as planned. But we wish the Carriage House Players all the best, and we encourage you to check out their social media and their website, Carriage House Players, and they're, again, out on Long Island. We were also supposed to have tonight, I'll throw up an image for them as well, we were supposed to have, where is it? We were supposed to have Frank Williams from the Staten Island Shakespearean Theatre Company, and they are doing The Merchant of Venice out in the Snug Harbor section of Staten Island. Unfortunately, Frank had to pull out. He is knee-deep in rehearsals, and they have just so many different things going on. So unfortunately, we lost a couple of guests at the last minute. We, again, wish them the best of luck, and we encourage you to check out the social media or the website for Staten Island Shakespearean Theatre Company and to check out their production of Merchant of Venice. We had another couple of groups that were supposed to join us. And again, we are so deep in the heart of the peak Shakespeare season here in New York City. And many of the groups, including a couple of the ones we spoke to, have multiple shows going on. So even if they are in rehearsal for one or in performance of one, they are simultaneously rehearsing another, or they're doing tech as they're moving from one park to another park, and any number of similar situations. So unfortunately, we had to miss out on a couple of our promised guests. My apologies to that, to the audience and to the guests who were supposed to join us. But unfortunately, timing doesn't always work out as planned. So again, my apologies, Evan. My apologies, Frank, if we were supposed to see you and we didn't end up having the chance. But we are very happy to have had the wonderful guests whom we did speak to this evening. Let me throw up the image of whom we spoke to tonight. And that was, first we spoke with Jason Marr of the Hip to Hip Theatre. They are doing Much Ado About Nothing and Pericles in parks in Queens and in some of the other boroughs around New York. We spoke with Anthony Marino from Brooklyn One Productions, BK1 Productions, and they are doing Romeo and Juliet in their new home in the Industry City section of Brooklyn. And we spoke with Chelsea Lesage, who is the managing director and performer at the Stag and Lion Theatre Company, with Joshua Cohn, and they are currently presenting Much Ado About Nothing, and that happens both outdoors and then back indoors at the Trinity Theatre. So you can check out their social media or their website for all the information about that. For all of you who joined us here tonight, we had quite a number of people come through the program tonight. Thank you all for spending your evening with us, spending time. I know you have so many choices available to you, but I thank you all for spending even a little bit of time checking out our updates about what's happening in the world of New York Shakespeare. We are all over social media: Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, WordPress, YouTube, and beyond. You can catch the archives of all of our past interviews, our classes, our performances, everything that we've done. It's all on Instagram. You can check it out there, or if not, you can find it on YouTube. Thank you all. Support your local New York Shakespeare productions and have a wonderful night.